Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Monday night, we are back in action as always. The trio is here 2 weeks in a row, all three of us. As people gather around, if you're watching us live right now, hit a like and all that kind of share, subscribe, grab people by the ear and say, come watch trivia. Trivia is almost on kind of a thing. But I'm your host, as always, Timuchin here in Chicago. I'll do the weather updates. It's freaking spring. So one day it's storming. I have to sleep downstairs so Stitch doesn't lose his shits. And then the next day is like the next 3 days is supposed to be beautiful over here. So I'll take it. At least spring is here. It's better than winter. But nothing is better than Bickler. Bickler, what's happening?
Yeah, dog. I was telling Gally I had a pretty good little Monday at work today, which means tomorrow is going to be a complete shit show. So law of averages. But I also... I'm skating off. I'm going up to Northern Michigan for a week starting on Thursday. So I just have to survive 2 days, really.
That's not bad. That's not bad. How about you, Gally?
I want to just back it up here a second. I'll give you the quick update quickly. Easter was fine. The grab ass was fun. It wasn't really fun, but I got through it. But truthfully here, I need a little more information. It storms and you sleep downstairs so Stitch doesn't get crazy from the man who doesn't allow the dogs past the top of the stairs?
Yes, I go. Stitch allows me downstairs. So I go downstairs. Well, I'm not going to get, because he's going to come on the bed and stuff. Like Stitch, I don't know what it is. If there's any like dog whisperers out there, do let me know. But this was not always the case. But something happened during a storm or something. Stitch wants to get as high as possible, and we're not talking like Bickler high, we're talking like, high in terms of like levels. Like he'll try to climb on top of the couch and stuff like that. So like if he comes upstairs, he's gonna get on the bed, and if you have a golden retriever, you know exactly why I don't allow them upstairs.
Did Stitch like survive Hurricane Katrina or something? Like
saw it on TV.
I just love the idea. I just love the idea of like Timuchin hearing like thunder and lightning in the middle of the night, just getting up, grabbing his pillow and being like, all right, Ange. And then really she's just like, enjoy yourself. And he's just downstairs, just banging out FIFA scores against young kids who are up way past their bedtime that he's not supposed to be communicating with at this time of night. Like some people have to actually like report themselves to local authority when they talk to as many kids as you do on a weekly basis.
I feel like we checked in on Angie on this. She'd be like, yeah, the storm ended 2 days ago. He's just down there.
Yeah, exactly. He's telling me the dog is standing on the top of the island in the kitchen and there's nothing he can do but stay up all night playing FIFA.
No, I see. When you're downstairs, he's all chill because I don't know if he thinks I'm going to protect him from the storm. I'm just going to outrun him probably, but he feels like safe.
Bullshit. I'm calling BS. That dog is outrunning you every day of the week and twice on Easter Sunday.
I'm getting back in shape, baby. But that's the thing. I was exhausted last night too. I actually went to bed early, so the kids were safe out there from being shot or killed on literally on Call of Duty or on like FIFA. But
that last
the moment I lay down, I heard the storm, and then the next thing I hear is Stitch walking around downstairs. I was like, oh man. So I went downstairs, and then then I had to turn on the PlayStation, kick some ass, and then fall asleep.
I think we need one of those like special badges for kids online that is marked safe from Timuchin.
Yeah.
I survived.
Yeah, I survived Hurricane Tim.
Okay, well, you know what? All good things come to an end. You guys had way too much fun at my sleeping arrangement expenses. Oh, if you think the graphic is what's gonna get you going tonight, Gally, you are so wrong, so wrong. So I've been cramming. When I'm late at night, I talk to AI and get things rolling. And due to requests, people want songs. People want more songs. People want different songs, Bickler. So you know what? I did a little something like this.
It's Monday night, the air is tight. Trivia battles in the podcast light. Timucin's grin sharp as a knife. Liverpool questions cutting through the night. Galley's grown, a thunderous sound. Bickler's jaw dragging on the ground. as the answers drown. Echoes of questions they won't know. The tension builds the tempo.
How about them apples?
Yeah, I really think we just lost 75% of the listeners. Yeah, it was good.
I
Good job.
figured people in. He must have liked Thursday, but. And Trevor says he's in hell. Well, wait, the question is not even here yet. Okay, here we go with the question. I'm going to have a totally different song every week from now on, so to get everything rolling. Oh, man, your guys' torture.
Oh, man.
Okay, with Leicester City losing yesterday, they one of the 7 clubs have been one of the 7 clubs relegated from the Premier League 4 times. There are one of the 3 clubs that have been relegated at least 5 times. Who are the other 2 clubs that have been relegated more than 5 times? 5 times or more.
All divisions.
Well, from the Premier League.
Well, wait, what was the question? Leicester City
has been relegated more than 4 times.
Got it. I got it. This is their 5th relegation.
Yes. So there's 2 other clubs that have been relegated more than 5 times or more. Who are? I've noticed. Yes, Bickler has been replaced by Galley with the follow-up.
No, because it's not a ridiculous question.
From 1994.
That was a ridiculous question. Worded question. Ridiculous.
Norwich City says, Brian.
I'm giving you time, Paul. You better have already looked this up. What the hell's wrong with you? I tried to give you
just waiting
time.
for Shelton to Google and put it in the chat like normal, so I can just spit it out. Like
finger syndrome.
I honestly don't have any idea. My first guess was going to be Norwich, just because they tend to yo-yo. We had them for a little bit in the Suarez years. They went back down. They came back up. They went back down. Yeah, definitely Norwich would be one of mine. Yeah, Leeds is a fairly good shout. I don't know how many. Don't think Bournemouth's done it that many times. I think they've got to be up there though.
That was why I asked that question.
There's a bunch of teams that have done it 4 times. Only 2 of them that have done it more than 4 times.
Norwich would have been my guess. I think Leeds is probably a really good shout. Although I don't know, they spent a long time up for a while.
Well, just pick one already, Bickler.
I did. I picked Norwich. I did 1. That's my.
Okay. So you did the easy one. Okay, now you get.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, man. That was awesome. We all knew that one. Sir Z said West Brom. I don't know that they came up and went down that many times. That's the problem. I'm trying to think of teams that come up a lot. I know Sheffield United's been up at least twice and went down twice, but I don't know if it's 5 times.
Maybe
I will just go with what's in the chat because I have no clue. Yeah. I'll say West Brom, but I don't believe it's even close. I think it's like
West Brom.
It is.
Albion and Leicester City both have been relegated 5 times. Norwich City has been relegated 6 times.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of teams who've done it 4 times. Burnley, Crystal Palace. Where's Kevin? Watford is another one. Hassan's got that one right. Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, and Sunderland.
Well, I have good news for all you Burnley supporters, right? You came up today, which means this time next year, you will have hit 5 on the list.
Jot this trivia.
Congratulations. Oh, and Scott Parker's still your manager, and congratulations for that.
You get to see Scott Parker again. I figured you'd be really happy about
Don't
this.
Kid yourself. He will not be the manager by opening day.
Okay, that was the trivia. New song, new question. What a great Monday already. It was a great Sunday yesterday. I guess could have been better. We could have kind of clinched it yesterday. As long as I think Aaron was saying it earlier in the comments. It doesn't happen on Wednesday because that's like the ugliest way for it to happen. So I don't want it to happen on Wednesday. I would love to beat Spurs this weekend and get it that way at Anfield in front of our home fans. But we do get to win yesterday. It was a weird one, Paul, because I think if we capitalize on a few of the chances earlier, I know personally I would have considered that one of our better performances recently in terms of being able to create chances, having control of the game, possession, when the possession numbers were good. But the goal didn't come, which kind of taints the overall performance, it feels like.
I feel like we could have said this for like 35% of Jurgen Klopp's tenure. Like, you remember how many games we were like, man, if only we just scored one of those 14 chances we had in the first 30 minutes, like before everything just locked up and went dry. Like, it just felt kind of like a vintage one of those performances. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the difference is with Leicester, you don't have to worry about getting scored on, which always makes you a little more comfortable.
How about you, Gally? I mean, obviously during the match, we kind of like nitpick certain performances and stuff like that. I focus on the left back, but you look at the team overall. I mean, we did create a lot of chances. I mean, there's some goal line clearances. Mo does the double doink and hits both posts and stuff like that. So if one of those goes, and it felt like if one of those were going to go in, Leicester, who was kind of like hanging out for dear life, would have collapsed, and that game was probably what everybody was predicting, the 4-goal, 5-goal game. But what did you give it as a grade in terms of the overall performance?
I mean, it can't be much more than a B. I mean, I think they weren't clinical. I thought they played pretty well as well. But, I mean, when you win 1-0 against a team that's literally gets relegated that day, they did play with a little bit of urgency. I do feel like we got their best from them. And, like, some of their senior players put in performances. Pereira was pretty good for 45 minutes. Ndidi was pretty good for like the guys they needed to step up and played pretty well. And I think that kept them in the match. They were dreadful on set pieces, and we just didn't convert. I thought Virgil could score one in the first half. I thought Kanate should have scored one in the first half. Jota late in the second half. So there were opportunities to score some goals there. To your point, Mo misses the one, 2 minutes in? The whole match could be different if he buries that. And we all know it, too. And it's one he should make. Thought we were okay. We weren't great. I also feel like at this time of year, it's not about grades. It's about finishing jobs. And the job was to get 3 points, and they went away, and they got 3 points, and they came home with them. So to me, I'd see that as, like, it was mission accomplished. I will say, I did chuckle when I saw the left back was in the starting lineup, because I'll tell you what, you must have said to yourself, wait, 2 starts in the league in a row? And this one, he got all 90 minutes. And it was almost like afterwards, the way the manager talked about him, it was tactical and by decision. Like, it was almost like he wanted him in there for those set pieces because Leicester's been so bad at defending set pieces this year. So maybe that was part of the tactics. And, maybe we'll talk a little bit about those set pieces later, because they did look a little different. Like, they looked more formulated than what we saw earlier in the year, at least in my opinion.
I don't know, that was something that they were talking about in terms of like I think it was with him, his interview with like Carragher, I think, before the game. They were talking about set pieces and like how the conversion of set pieces and stuff like that. And like, Slot was talking about something that's something that takes time. It's not, we worked on this during the week. But that's, you work on like one thing during the week and you might be able to pull that off, like a combination. But overall success and being dangerous on them does take time. So he was like, that was one area that they were talking about that the team can improve on. So obviously the bigger story. So we'll start talking about that first. I'm sure you guys probably touched on it in the Premier League show as well. But when Trent came in, I was telling Matush this morning, there was a set piece too. So I'm like, watch, he's going to come and take this. We're going to score. Like with his first touch, he's going to have an assist. Even better, he scores his first left-footed goal there, Paul. And then flings the jersey and shows that he doesn't have Mo's muscles, but celebrates. First off, obviously, anything that happens because of the contract situation, everybody reads into it probably more than they should. But what was your initial take when you see that?
When I see him hang the shirt on the post, is that what you're asking me?
Was he the one who hung the shirt? I was told that another player grabbed it and put it on the corner flag.
What's
like,
what's the question? What was my reaction to the goal? I just kind of, I don't know. it just was sort of poetic. Like, when he came in, I don't know. I enjoyed the irony of it. I'm irritated with Trent, so anything Trent does is going to get under my skin slightly right now. I'm not to the point where I'm going to get online and talk about his physique like he's fat, like a lot of people did, which I thought was hilarious, considering the fact that we can, guys, when you do that online, we can see your profile pictures. So just don't don't do that. Like,
He wasn't fat. He just didn't have, and it's kind of hard to have MO going.
There was a lot of people online saying that he looks like he hasn't been like doing what he should in training, which I just don't agree with. But anyway, I don't know. It was fine. Everybody made a big deal about the reaction and it being about spinning it in a way that made it seem like he was passionate about his club. A lot of the media said, we don't usually see Trent react like this. Look at how much this means to him for the club. I didn't take it like that. And this is maybe me being a little bit jaded by the situation, but it seemed like Trent making a team moment, a me moment, which is my main problem with Trent to begin with right now. And that's what I took from that. That's what it felt like to me. I don't know. Just move on. Get it to the circle. Let's move on.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that actually, but that is a good point. It's similar to that celebration where, I didn't think. To me, Gally, it was more. I don't think it was like a statement per se, but it was an over-the-top celebration for Trent because we've seen Trent celebrations before, and I think it's probably like the ridiculous amount of joy added to probably the ridiculous amount of frustration and stress, and this was like a huge relief and release for him. So it was something that was out of character that we're not really used to seeing because he's going through some stuff that he's not used to going through.
Sure, but in classic US TV fashion, because they just don't understand how to paint the picture, especially something like the emotions that are attached to European football, they didn't even touch on in the broadcast the fact that, I think they deliberately made sure you didn't hear it. He was booed when they announced him in by Liverpool supporters. Not all supporters, but a good amount of supporters booed him, and I heard them talking about it. I forget if it was the Anfield Wrap or one of the post-match shows I listened to yesterday. He was being booed in the grounds when he was brought on. He was also booed the first time he touched the ball. Now, I thought it was a little much, like one of the guys, I think it was the Anfield Wrap, that said, then he went to cross the ball in and someone booed him. And that's when supporters in the grounds were like, all right, enough, man. You can boo him when he comes on. You made your point. Now we have to support him. We're trying to win an effing league here. What's wrong with you? And I think this is my problem is, this kid who used to rally and bring everyone together, whether he's doing it on purpose or not, by not speaking has divided the club. So I felt divided. I'm at my Easter making a whole bunch of people who do not care about this watch, right? Everyone there, 4 older guys wanted to watch golf. They had money on it. Other people had wanted to watch the NBA basketball, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna watch this game.
Wait, are you the home team or are you at somebody else's house making them watch?
Oh, I'm at someone else's house in full control. This is my older sister. This is what happens when you're the baby.
Walking around.
This is what happens when you're the baby of the family in an Italian family. You just walk in, you take the remote, and your sister starts defending you to the people in her home. This is what my brother does. If you want to see someone really get angry, wait till the 4'8" Italian woman starts yelling at you for telling her son no. But so I'm watching this and I am kind of frustrated. I'm in and out of it. And I actually said out loud, you watch. Right when the corner is about to happen, I look over and I go, Kelly, we're going to have an FU Trent moment any second. And literally he scores the goal. And I was like, it had to be him. And let's be honest too. Yes, he kicked it with his left foot. He also kicked it directly into the ground. And he was lucky it didn't skip up too high. Because the person who had the blinder of a game was the goalkeeper for Leicester. If that match ends 0-0, Leicester's goalkeeper was the man of the match because he kept us out on 3 or 4 good occasions, and he kind of got mixed up on that one. In my opinion, this was classic Trent. But let's not also hide this. He wasn't running over to celebrate with the supporters. He actually was going to do his end line thing. It was Macca and maybe Virgil that actually pushed him over towards our supporters because I think he was nervous. It was uncomfortable for him, which is why it looked so over the top and in some way like contrived. Because I think he realized I got to go celebrate with these supporters who were booing me when I walked on the pitch. And I think he knows what it's going to be like Sunday at Anfield. And I don't think he's looking forward to it. And I don't think he did himself any favors with his post-match interview either.
Yeah.
I get that. At this point, it's too late anyway, so he's gonna keep riding the wave until they probably at least they clinch it. I don't think he's gonna change the tune, and I'm okay with that one. And but I don't know. But that's interesting you say that about like Sunday, because I think Bickler, it will be a whole different environment, especially hopefully nothing is pretty bad when we're like we don't want Crystal Palace to beat Arsenal on Wednesday. But like if that's a clinching game, I feel like the focus would be more there than Trent, especially if he starts. And
I don't know. I think the difference is instead of having a small amount of traveling supporters, you're going to have a whole stadium full of them.
I don't think he's starting. I'll get to that now.
Start. Yeah, I don't know. He's going to have a whole week. He might not start. And, you got vintage Trent performance too, because you get a couple of really good passes, but then like 5 minutes later, there's like a pass right in the middle in front of him. Instead of giving it to Gravenberg, he starts to go down the line and make it like the wonder pass. And I was like, dude, he was wide open in the middle and he had nowhere, like he had nothing but grass in front of him. And it's just like, I'm like, yeah, this is the guy. But I think, I don't know, this is probably the drama we're going to have for the rest of the season.
There's a small part of me that wondered if we'd see him again. Like at all, like on the pitch. Just because I wondered, like with the situation being what it was, like if, the manager would opt out of like even making that like a possibility. I don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start. I also won't be surprised if he does start. I do think that you're going to hear, I think they're going to let him hear it. I do. I don't
do you give credit for him for coming back though? Because to me, I'm probably like, even when he's in his peak, I'm probably his biggest critic over here overall, even before this contract thing. I kind of give him credit for working to get back. McAllister was even talking after the game about like, obviously like how hard he worked to get back and stuff. Because we could have really milked this if he really wanted to, especially kind of like Galley's saying, anticipating what could happen, or maybe he didn't think it was going to happen, but I'm sure he did in some ways. Do you give him any credit, Bickler, for trying to come back and play and finish it the right way, whether we like it or not, how he's ending it overall?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to get to a bridge where I think that he has made some sort of effort to come back for some noble reason. Like just given the fact that like I don't think anything that he's done in the last few years has been to do anything but for Trent's own sort of gain, right? So I do give him credit for coming back. I mean, he could have basically sat this out and not done anything, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people that are on their way out that get injured essentially just kind of float into the background. And that would have been the easy way out. He would have had a lot less stress, and a lot less guff. But like, I think Trent's gonna have to face the music either way. Like, he's a Liverpool lad. He's gonna be walking around Liverpool. It's like not like he's going to be able to go into the witness protection plan. So I don't know. Yeah, I do give him credit for coming back though.
I mean, I'm sure he has already sensed as he goes around Liverpool right now, Gally, that I keep saying like this invisible shield of protection around him is gone now. That kind of excused all the defensive, but he can pass and stuff, like all the defensive stuff we excused him for that we would not excuse Robertson for or Costas for or Bradley for and stuff like that. But so he must have expected some of this to come his way. It can't be a shocker for him to go out there with like, I never saw this coming. That's why I kind of give him credit for facing the music at the end and not saying like, yeah, I'm still kind of pulling a little bit and then not come back. Because he could have milked the rest of the season.
I mean, I'd give him a lot more credit if when the report came out right after the injury that his people planted in the media to soften this blow that he's going to come back from. If he had just come out and said, yeah, I've decided to go to Madrid, did everything here. I can't wait to win the league. I'm totally dedicated to winning the league. And I think there'd be a group of supporters who would be salty and would be irritated. But you know what? I think they'd be silent. And I know Sir Zier, someone in the comments said you should never boo a Liverpool player wearing that badge. And I don't think you should support them while they're working towards, like on the pitch, trying to help Liverpool win a match. But I'm never going to tell anyone how how they emotionally connect, because we can't say we're the most emotionally attached supporters to our club and that it means more at Liverpool, and then give those quotes that shit on City for their titles, and we know how they won them, and it'll never be the same as it is for me and the rest of the guys in that dressing room when it comes to the supporters, and then look them in the face and give those disingenuous comments that he gave at the end of the match, because that presenter gave him a platform on a day where everyone was smiling and a win away from the league to say, hey, you're right. Next week will be the last time I play a match at Anfield and we win a Premier League, but I can't wait because we're going to win the Premier League. That's all he had to say. And I think it would be less today than what it was. And what it turned out to be is an infight between supporters. Can I boo? Can I be silent? Do I have to cheer? I found out the other day that I have a chance, if I want to go to the last match of the year with our good friend Megan and potentially go see them play and lift the trophy. If my wife still cares about me in 2 weeks when the ticket comes up and is as drunk as she was the night she told me I can go, I'm going to take advantage of it. I don't know what I will do. I know I won't boo. I'm also pretty sure I'll be one of the only people in my little tourist group that won't clap him off the field and might even turn my back if he comes for a victory lap around the stadium, because I'm angry with him leaving and the way in which he's done it. And the way I'll voice my opinion as a supporter is not to cheer and not to sing his songs. And I think there are going to be more people in the stadium hurt and angry than happy and congratulatory to him. So I don't know if we want to talk about the Carragher comments. I thought they were spot on. I think when a basketball season ends in high school, they stop playing all the seniors, right? Because the season's over and you get ready for the team that'll be here next year. And I think Bradley should get 60 to 70 minutes of every single match, and Trent should get the last 15 to 20 minutes. Because at this point, in my opinion, he is the right back understudy at Liverpool Football Club, just long enough until they can find the next one.
I mean, I don't blame him for not saying, look, I'm going to go to Madrid or whatever, but I expected him all along to play Virgil. Just look at the big dude next to you. Repeat after him. Like, this is where I want to stay. This is why you guys know I love Liverpool Football Club, but we'll see what the future brings. Right now, I'm focused on this. That's all he had to do throughout. The fact that he doesn't even kind of say that is probably what bugs me more than anything else. You have this perfect example of what to say. Write it down on your wrist or some shits, and then when somebody asks you, read it out. It's not that difficult, and you can still kind of be in good graces. I mean, I don't think the last one you go, if you can weasel your way into it and go, I don't think there'll be a reaction to him within that celebration, and I don't even know if it will be appropriate, just because just enjoy the win. I mean, it's not time for you're going to be enjoying it way too much to kind of be like, time out, Trent is coming, let's give him the finger kind of thing. It's going to get lost in the mix, I think, on that day, but he can really soften the blow with at least saying half the right stuff.
You know who would have never allowed that post-game interview to go like that? Jordan Henderson would have sat next to him with his hand on the back of his neck.
Squeezing it.
Yep.
It wouldn't have been the little Argentine who can barely speak English.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, honestly, that's the funny thing. McAllister, raving about him, and 2 weeks ago, everybody was like, look at McAllister, giving him the stink eye when you came back to campus after the international game. And the dude was like, yeah, it was great for him, really happy for this guy and stuff like that. I think those guys probably, look, especially a guy like McAllister, probably understands it a bit more because he's a professional and he doesn't have the ties and he has not been in the same situation. I think the problem is, we were talking about that with Matish this morning too. I feel like there are people who are from Liverpool who are a lot more offended than we probably even are, because the dude is kind of living their dream, they're living their dream through him kind of thing. And he's basically kind of saying meh, not a bad dream, I guess, kind of a thing. And I would take that more personally if I am from Liverpool, as opposed to us from outside, or a guy like McAllister who is there as a professional doing this as a job and stuff like that. So he can't probably connect and understand, but I think somebody in local, and that's why he's probably getting more headaches over there than anything else. But I guess, we'll see what happens. Like I was just like, dude, like who is giving you this advice to talk like this? That's what the immaturity comes to me, because you would think you had a whole 2 weeks to stay out of the limelight in that sense because of the injury and stuff. Practice your contract question answer speech. I mean, Slots has one that he uses every freaking press conference. He could have easily just said what Van Dijk has been said it all along. People complain about Mo, but even Mo, when he was kind of maybe throwing people under the bus and saying, oh, there was no offer and stuff like that, he still went out of his way to say, this is where I want to be. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm focused on this now. It's really not that hard, but
the being quiet actually hurt him in this. He thought it was going to help him. At least when we heard Mo and Virgil talking, they were telling you, I'll put pressure on the club. I want to be here. I'm actively in negotiations. You know that he was asked the other day if they are still negotiating with the club, and he said, I told you I won't comment on anything regarding my contract. All he had to say is, yeah, my people talk to him every day, but we're not anywhere closer. But he doesn't want that out there, because God forbid it comes out that this deal's already been signed, which I think it has. Like, I think this has been a done deal for a while. Paul does too. And, you know, to your point, you made one great point earlier, and you made a lot of them, but one really good one. You said, why doesn't he just do what Virgil did? Why didn't he just talk like Virgil did? You know, the crazy part is Trent talked that way for the first 7 years of his Liverpool career. Yeah. He stopped talking that way 18 months ago, yet everybody wants me to believe that the club isn't giving him fair deals, or I got to prove facts or put out things. Where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire. And unfortunately for Trent, there's an awful lot of smoke everywhere he goes. And it feels like it's because him and his people just keep dropping effing bombs.
Joel was with us all the way from Honduras. Thanks a lot for joining us, bud. Hop on onto the YouTube side as well. Give us a thumbs up over there. Thanks for joining the broadcast. Let us know what you think about Trent out that way. But here's my thing. I guess Slots in the post-match, we're talking with, again, like this morning show in the coffee show, about saying something along the lines of, and I read the transcript, so it is an exact quote, that, you know, Trent can be this if he puts his mind to it. I just don't think you can't say that about a player that's top-notch, that you're going to pay top dollar for. That's not a quality that you want in that, because he's not 18 or he's not 19 or anything like that. He's a mature professional player at his age. You are never going to say that about a guy like Van Dijk. You're never going to say that about a guy like Mo. Or when he puts his mind to it, Mo is really deadly or something. Because that goes without saying that his mind is into it. Because he's getting paid like one. And that's why you should act like one. Nobody's going to say, I mean, even all these other players, how many players would we say, if he puts his mind to it, Konate can be good? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't think of a lot of players that we would say that if he puts his mind to it. That just tells me that you're not a great professional. And I don't want my club giving that kind of money to a guy who's not that great of a professional, with all these examples around him of great professionals. If he goes over there and sees what Mbappe is doing and copies that, as opposed to looking at Mo and Van Dijk and guys like that around them and copying that, good luck to you with your Ballon d'Or. You can basically just wipe the chair that Mbappe sits on when you go to, or Vinicius sits on when you go to the things. But trying to make Liverpool look bad by not saying nothing, it backfired. Yes, I agree with that. I think Wade is dead on that one. I think so. And maybe because of the other two. Right, Bickler? I think when you have three people, if it was just Trent, maybe he could have gotten away with the quietness a lot more. When it's three of them and you see the other two handle it well, say the right things, then sign, that's, I think, why it has backfired. Maybe he wasn't planning on these guys handling it as well as they did.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think Mo and Verge basically wrote the blueprint for how you handle the situation. And let's be clear, Mo has learned, right? Mo learned the hard way from his first go-around, right? What not to do, right? I don't think that lesson actually got passed over to Trent. And, like, let's be real, like, for most of Trent's career, he has been the golden child at this club. And this is the first time that he's really had any sort of adversity. So any sort of real heavy criticism laid against him. He's never been comfortable talking in front of the camera. He's even on wingman, you could tell he was like just a little bit uncomfortable. That was carried by bigger personalities around him. And I think it's a big reason why he never made club captain. I don't think he's vocal enough. I don't think he's a person that talks and people really like sort of absorb and like I don't think he's a natural leader, right? And I think when you take that into account for the fact that he's been protected almost this entire career between Gerrard and Hendo, and then like Verge when Hendo left, like they've kind of had him under their wing, right? Now he's making big boy decisions and he's on an island for the first time, and you're really seeing it.
And he's also got a manager. He's got a coach for the first time that isn't afraid to call him out and say things like that quote. Jurgen Klopp would never make that quote that Arne Slot said in the post-match about if he puts his mind to it. Jurgen would have told you he was the best player, and we knew he thought he was the best player because he built his entire setup around him, around a defensive deficiency. And then he told midfielders to do the work of the defensive player so that he could go forward and be creative. And when they shit on you for passing the ball sideways and never getting above the halfway line, you just tell them it's because Trent's the best right back in the world and blah, blah, blah. And we have this superstar talent. Look, he's a great guy. You know, the only other time he had this level of adversity in his life was when Gareth Southgate told him, you aren't good enough. You're a great player. You're not good enough for our England setup. And you know what? They didn't win anything, but they got to a World Cup semi, a World Cup, a Euro final. Like they went pretty far and they looked organized. And when Trent played, it didn't really work.
But also look how Trent handled that. Trent was like he was affected massively by that. You could see it in his face.
That was where I was going. That was the only other time we saw adversity. And what did he do? He kind of turtled and it didn't go good. And when did it really get the hottest for him? Was right around when the January transfer window was starting. January 1st, when the news of Madrid coming in with a bid. Will we accept it? Would he talk? Will he admit he's going? And what happens? He goes out and puts in the single worst professional performance I saw from a person in a red jersey all year long against Manchester United 6 days later. And this is the guy who is going to go play in the Spanish capital for the team in white? I'm sorry. The guy has as good of a chance of being the right back at West Ham in 3 years as he does winning any major honors and being a key contributor. I think he's going to be a squad player at Real Madrid. I think they buy a right back in the next 2 years.
I mean, look, having said all this, we're definitely not happy with how he's handled it. And I think he just has the wrong people around him giving him bad advice. But that's no excuse on him because he's not like a 16-year-old kid. For his age, he makes his own decisions. So what your brother did might be moronic and not a good call. But, well, you're the moron for putting your brother in charge in that situation in the first place to make those decisions. So it's on him. Having said that, I mean, he's an excellent player. Like some of his ability, passing and everything like that is great, excellent, and he's done a lot for the club, but the way he's ending it, sometimes the way you end things can kind of spoil what you've done so far. And I think this is what I was talking about over this entire year, where it's a bad business decision for the long run because you might make more money for the next 3 years, 5 years, but you just lost the ability to be Mr. Liverpool. When there's a game right now in Anfield, we know where Dalglish sits. We know where Steven Gerrard is, where he's sitting and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to know exactly where. We don't know where, if Owen is in there within 10 miles of the stadium or McManaman and stuff like that. But you go to those guys, and Trent could have been one of those guys. He could have been the next camera cut. And he's like, yep, cut to Trent. He's sitting over there with his wife, blah, blah, blah. I think he's lost that. And that's why it's in the long term, I think it's a bad business decision afterwards. I understand all these people are like, well, you want to try something else. That's fine. Go try something else. But, I'm still going to call it that what you're trying is stupid. I mean, it's your decision at the end of the day. But more important for us, Bickler, is the replacements and the test study we're doing right now. I'm not still sold on it. And I know he's young and he hasn't had a run of games and stuff like that. But I think, I hear some of the commentary and some of the pundits talking and stuff like that. I think regardless of what we see in the next 4 to 5 games, we have a body of work to evaluate him already. And it would be a really, really terrible decision to pencil him in as the starter going into next season.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. My personal opinion is I think that Bradley at this point in his career is a really good rotational piece. I don't feel comfortable locking him in as a starter regardless of what happens. I think that, like, no matter what happens, I think this club has to go back out into the market and get a fullback, possibly two, when you look at what's happening on the left side as well. So
Where are you at with that, Gally? Because, I mean, you were mentioning it earlier, like Carragher was talking about him. He should be getting more minutes. And it was all about, for Liverpool to see what they have. I just get the feeling that we kind of already know what we have. This is not Bicetic coming or something. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of know what we have. We've seen a lot of Bradley. And so has Sloth.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of them, but I think you see a lot more when guys get consistent minutes at the position they're playing. He can defensively do the job. I think that he needs a veteran presence or at least another young player to push him. But I don't think they're going to go out. Like, if you're asking me if they're bringing in 5 to 6 players this summer, right back's not going to be one of the large purchases. They're not going to go buy Hakimi. They're not going to go buy a top level right back. I don't believe they'll buy a player that is guaranteed to start over Bradley. I think they buy a player to compete with Bradley. There's a big difference. I think they let Tsimikas go with the plan of buying Robertson's replacement. Because I don't think the jury is out at this point on a 21-year-old kid that plays for his country and has had flashes and has shown. The other thing, and I've said this before, he gets forced to play as if he's Trent Alexander-Arnold often. And I don't believe our overall tactics would be this way if Trent wasn't the starting right back on the first game of the season. And we've all said this. We'd like to see what Slot's tactics are like. And his setup is like when it's his guys. And I still think we're catering around, in some ways, I think he's catering around the talent of Szoboszlai, the talent of Trent, and the talent of Mo. And it's not what he's ever done. He's always built through the middle, played with a creative number 10, and defenders that play fullback and get subbed out at 65 minutes because they're dead ass tired. And then he got here and he was like, man, my fullbacks aren't even tired. And you're like, that's because they don't defend. That to me is still an interesting piece. Like, I don't think there is no chance that it is Bradley, but I think you have to go get one, which is why it wouldn't shock me if they were to like target Frimpong and say, hey, when we need to start a match with a defender, we're going to start Bradley and he's going to sit back and we're going to play this way. When we need a more attacking player to get up the pitch and we want to push it and maybe even be our cover for Mo when he goes to AFCON for 10 games in the middle of December, like we have this Jeremy Frimpong kid. And by the way, it's only 35 million. So if we swing and miss and the kid can't hack England, we can still resell him and break even with our money. Like, to me, Frimpong makes total sense.
Yes.
Because I think he is enough of Trent to give you some creativity, but he gives you the luxury of allowing Bradley to still give you some of those minutes when you need that defender and you need that type of kind of, and I do think they need a couple hard asses in the side because eventually Andy Robertson leaves. And I could almost see Bradley picking up the mantle for the guy who gets under somebody's, in somebody's craw when you need it on the pitch.
Yeah, like I say, he's like extremely young, and you would think he would improve in a lot of ways if he puts his mind to it, like Trent. But I think like he will improve defensively, and he will improve like in his work rate and things like that. I'm just not sold, and I would not want to put my eggs in that basket. That's why like Frimpong is a perfect option to be able to like fill it. And here's another thing: like Bradley's injury history for a guy who hasn't played a lot is not very good either. That's another reason I don't think you would have put those eggs in that basket. That's why I feel like, Frimpong, if it happens, the question then becomes, and I know we talked about this before, and sadly we do not know the answer to, is that what Slaw wants? Like Frimpong bombing on one side, Kirkus bombing on the other side. But at least these are guys who do have the speed and the physical ability to get back after they bomb. Like, is that what he wants, or does he want a guy who's going to sit back a bit more? So that remains to be seen. That's why I think this is probably one of the most interesting summers we're going to have in a long time. And the good news is we're going to be coming off of a title win. I think it makes it a lot easier. The urgency is less because it's like we're building on top of it as opposed to like, we need this to catch so and so or something like that. One thing though, I wanted to ask you guys this, because I don't know if it's just me, but as I watched this team over the last month, every game I watch, Pickler, I keep saying to myself, we gotta hang on to Diaz because I feel like he brings, and I know there'll be some changes in the front line, so you might get players that are similar, but I feel like he brings something that nobody else in that front line brings. Mo does not do some of the things that we see from Diaz now in terms of like attacking people, because obviously, with the speed and stuff, he's evolved in this game. Whereas the energy Diaz brings, the aggressiveness, the directness, I know we talked about this before in terms of like him being one of the pieces that would go mainly because he has the market for it. But man, like I say, it's been a couple of months now. I feel like every game I watch, I'm like, we gotta hang on to this guy. He is the only threat at times.
Yeah, well, I think, when we talked about Diaz as a potential out, it was because he was by far the most marketable of those front six players that we often talk about, right? Like in terms of like where you can get value for him, it made the most sense, right? Since then, Gakpo's form's fallen off, Jota's fitness has fallen off, and the question mark and the jury being out on Darwin, I think that question's been settled, right? In a way that we didn't want it to. So when you knock those three out and you leave Mo being re-signed, like it's pretty obvious you got to hang on to Diaz.
How about you, Gally? I mean, like I say, we talked about this before, and we've kind of like gone back and forth. I go back and forth with John every Wednesday morning on Diaz and stuff like that. He doesn't hate on Diaz as much as Matush hates on Jota, but it's pretty darn close.
Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody hates on anything as much as you don't even hate on Simicast as much as he hates on Jota. That thing's been going on since the beginning of time.
Where are you at with Diaz right now?
So I'm at the same place I'm at with Diaz. If you tell me he is first, second, third name on the team sheet, I'm fine with that. You got to convince the manager / head coach to play Gakpo through the middle then. Because I'm done with seeing him in the center. Because I don't think it works. I don't think he was good against Leicester. I thought he had great work rate. I thought he played well. But I didn't like it when he started the match through the middle. I didn't think it was good. So if he's playing out left, I think he is our most influential attacker and most in-form attacker. I think that's the most important position for him. So I wouldn't be excited if you're telling me that the plan is we're keeping him another year and he is a option through the center of the pitch. I'm not cool with it. I think the team needs a number 9, even if that number 9 needs to do the work like Bobby used to do and do runs and drop deep and create space for Mane and Diaz, for Diaz and Mo to run past him, right? Or to have guys like Szoboszlai make runs. Whatever you're telling me, I'll play with a false 9. I still personally believe the best we've seen this side this year is with the 4 midfielders. And I'd really like to see if the manager decides to roll the dice these last 3-4 games once the league is wrapped up and wants to prep some things for next year. I'd like to see some setups with the 4 midfielders with all different maturations. Maybe Harvey and Szoboszlai playing together, maybe Jones playing deep, McAllister playing forward. I'd mix some stuff up and have Diaz and Mo be my top 2 and see what it looks like when 4 dynamic attackers who can interchange and run past each other and have a guy like Harvey in there to pull some strings. Like that to me would be interesting. And that to me would be something that would be worth watching for, because that might also save the club a ton of money in a summer where their top number 9 striker options might not be out there, the type of striker that Schlott wants. Maybe you do run it back with a similar format and you buy a few to kind of give you numbers. I mean, we know Darwin's gone, but I'd like to see some variations of what he's putting out there right now with the mixtures of McAllister and Szoboszlai, because I do think that midfield, as good as it was at times, because it went off the boil at the money end of the season, I think it's a real question going into next year of what is the best midfield and what is the best setup, and where does Jones fit into it? Szoboszlai, does Elliott have a role in it? That to me might be the best thing or the most interesting thing to watch play out over these last 3-4 matches once we've secured the title.
See, that's the only problem I see is because, I mean, I agree. I just don't think, aside from the last 2 games, because you're going against Chelsea and then you're going against Arsenal, I just don't see him experimenting in those games as much. So my thing, Bickler, is I'm afraid that definitely this weekend you're going to see your regular standard issue ideal starting 11. But I think it's because it's Chelsea away and then Arsenal at home. I do think he would not. I mean, Chelsea away might not be a bad game to try that for.
Why not, though? If the league's been won, why not?
I don't see him doing it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I just don't see him doing it based on the fixtures. I think if you were doing Southampton and Ipswich and stuff like that, I can see him maybe saying, like, let's see how this looks. I don't think he would do that against Chelsea and Arsenal. You guys, I mean, do you think he would do it? I'm not saying like what we want to see.
I mean,
like,
Chelsea hasn't looked any more organized than the last 2 teams you just said defensively. So, like, I can see. I mean, I think you could make the case for Arsenal that you maybe don't want to experiment with that team, just because, like, I don't think you get a really good read on whether it's going to work or not. But I think you can absolutely do it against Chelsea. I don't know. Like, I'm for that.
Do you think we will see it? Let me ask that. Do you think he will do it?
I think I'll go with no. I don't think so. That's what I would do. I just haven't seen enough willingness down the stretch to be flexible from him, which makes me think 2 things. We know this is a guy that has very set, like, he's very opinionated and he's very decided in how he goes about things, right? There's not a lot of, like, he doesn't strike me as somebody who, like, operates philosophically in the gray area and experiments a whole lot. He kind of, like, I think a lot of what we would think is in-game experiments happen in the training side with him. And I think that's just how he kind of operates. I think, the idea of running out your players, like, we talked about this, like, I'm all for it, right? Once you win the league, put everybody else out there, see what you got kind of thing. I think this is a dude that knew what he had 3 months ago. Like, and I really think that what we're going to see from players that are making this pitch are players that are going to be here next year. And to that, like, if these guys are going to be here next year, this is where I do want to see him play with formations. I just don't know that this manager will get himself there mentally to do that.
And on the flip side, I mean, I agree with Bickler, but on the flip side, I can also see why he would make that decision, Gally, because players want to play. And I know, it's also only fair to those guys who ultimately got you the big prize to keep getting their minutes and playing. It would be a different story, I think, if we had like a World Cup coming up or a Euro coming up. Maybe then you can see Gakpo or somebody saying like, I'm cool with not playing as much or something like that. But I feel like, one, how much are you going to see that you didn't, similar to what Bickler is saying? He probably already knows who's what and stuff like that. And 2, in some ways, it's only fair to those guys who brought you there.
Sure, but we're talking about not playing Gakpo, a guy who hasn't looked himself in 2 months. And honestly, nothing he's done in 2 months on the pitch has warranted a minute. He hasn't earned a minute of time on the pitch since he came back from injury. I mean, it looks like it honestly looks like Gakpo against Man United walking around the pitch or walking on the pitch against Chelsea after he came on as a sub. And even us, you especially, who was like a big time, I remember that match. Even you were like, I might sub him here as a sub in the second half. It was pitiful. And he's starting to have that look on his face. And I just think that's how he carries himself. But we're talking about taking minutes away from Gakpo and Jota to play the 4 midfielders. So it's not like it's these players who are pulling up trees and have absolutely, like, we're not telling Gravenberch he can't finish and start all 38 matches. And to the comments that are coming in about the Chelsea and Arsenal, I will say this. Chelsea, I think you could experiment against because I don't think Chelsea knows how they play, and they experiment with new lineups every single day because Maresca is still trying to figure out how to make it work with his, 4 holding midfielders and 17 wingers. Like, someday they're going to buy him a goalkeeper and a striker.
It's only May.
Until then, Until then, I'm good with it. In some ways, maybe we actually don't want Chelsea to make the Champions League because it actually helps, because Chelsea really struggles if they don't get the value. If they don't get Champions League money, they're in real trouble financially. They may have to sell some of these assets. And knowing a club like Liverpool and Michael Edwards, they're like, hey, let's go drill them, make sure they finish again in the Europa Conference League so that we can go buy Cole Palmer with that escape clause that he has that says, he has an out in his clause. It's like 40 million. Someone can buy him if they don't make Champions League. Like,
Really?
he has an out.
He's got the McAllister clause.
We just got suddenly more invested in the stretch run for Chelsea.
Right. But the one thing about Arsenal I will say is this. I expect Arsenal to buy a big-time striker in the summer. I think Arsenal is going to get Zubimendi in the summer. And we are seeing, as this Arsenal team gets fitter, that they can compete at a high level after what they've done. Like, we can clown on them all we want. You don't beat Madrid over 2 legs without earning the fact that they're taking steps forward. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that match against Arsenal at Liverpool is the first game of next season. And I think Slot's going to take it like the first game of next season. There will be no experiments in that Arsenal match. We will be playing that match to win and set a marker down for next year that we are the champions. And to win this trophy, it comes through us. And we're showing you, like, we're here to start fighting it right now. And I actually think that match is the one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes Pep and literally gets, like, we have, like, the first 2 subs in the 83rd minute if the guys are playing great. Because I think he wants to make a statement in that match. And Arsenal might still be in the Champions League at that point. They may even be resting players. I could see us actually putting it to them.
Do you think players really carry that through the summer, or do you think that's just things supporters care about?
I think that
in
it
a
is
situation like this. I would think they carry it.
I think more than anything, I think coaches carry the mental part of that. Of we're setting this thing right now to, like, lay this marker down. We're not going to let them potentially go win a Champions League and beat the champions-elect in their building to end the season in May. Because that gives them all the confidence over the summer that they're on their way. And God forbid they get a Jokeres, or they sign Isak, or they make some big move for a player that puts them in their mind over the top. I don't think you want to give them that confidence. And I just think, like, second in the table, title contender all year long. So the team that everyone's whining had the injuries that should have been there with you. If it wasn't for the red cards, if it wasn't for VAR, if it wasn't for Mikel Arteta, like, all these things. I think that match means different. I think Brighton, Palace, you can rotate. And I think Chelsea, you could do a little. But, I mean, first you got to just beat Spurs, right?
I mean, I don't think, Bickler, like, they come, people show up end of July, early August, or whatever. They're like, all right, where were we? We just beat them, right? It's kind of a thing. But I think in the back of your head, it kind of puts, and I think that's one of the biggest things that happened to Arsenal this year is they got blindsided by what we did. I think, they only had City at their sights, and then we just came out of nowhere and then, like, hit him upside the head. I think they were just focused on, we got to beat City. And let's face it, that's what everybody thought. I mean, every pundit thought. They were like, that was the person to bring down, and I think they got blind. I think, teams like, these rivalries and stuff like that, I think players kind of, not to mention winning at a different ground and stuff like that, there is something to be said about that too. You talk to ex-players and stuff like that, they hate going to certain stadiums because they feel like whatever they do is not going to happen, does not matter, kind of a deal. So I think it matters. Is it like a title defining thing? Probably not, but it's any edge that you can get, you're all for. So if we win next week, first of all, we guarantee this thing. So what are we doing on Monday night if we win on Monday night? I will be bringing, everybody should bring in something, I feel like. I'll bring in a new song, for you guys.
How about a song? How about no song? If we win, we will award the supporters of this channel with no trivia. How about that? No trivia. I have a trivia question.
We should do like a Bizarro show. Everybody does complete opposite of what they normally do.
It should be a straight who won the league. And if you get it wrong, you're off the show.
Yeah, maybe I'll give you guys an excuse from like trivia. But yeah, hopefully we'll be here next Monday celebrating. Obviously, we'll be on air in the post-match celebrating once we win the title. I would love to beat Spurs, and then have Arteta give us the guard of honor and all that kind of stuff the week after. So that would be a double bonus.
Spurs are gonna roll out a side against us on Sunday that looks like the sides that Harry Redknapp used to roll out in the Europa League qualifying rounds when he would automatically get knocked out in August because he knew their whole season would be ruined if they made it. Like, they're playing in a European semifinal, and we think the middle of that week, and we think they're rolling anyone against us that could be injured. Like, we are going to see a very, very normal Spurs team we're used to, because we're going to see all the.
But you always worry that what if one does not go in, kind of a thing. But Bickler, what will you do for Bizarro Monday once we win the title? That's the bigger question. That
Wait, are you here?
I'll be up in Michigan. I will see tentatively if I can make the pod. It's going to depend on my location, Wi-Fi, etc.
Because if it's Bizarro, you would be early. Like, for example, I was thinking something like that, you know, the complete opposite of.
I mean, part Bizarro might be being in Michigan and having enough internet to do a podcast. That might be the most Bizarro thing of all time.
It's going to be it's a fairly large cabin out in the northern Michigan woods. There's weed is now recreational. I'm making no promises.
But yeah, either way, we'll definitely be here Sunday for the pre and post. But before that, I'll be back tomorrow night with the panel show. The usual weekly shows Wednesday, Friday morning, Thursday night podcast. And then obviously the Premier League show will go on air tomorrow. Do the liking, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. If you are not following us on YouTube yet, what the heck is your problem? Get on over there. Give us a follow. A lot more coming your way. So looking forward to that as we celebrate number 20. Have a great week, everybody. That's it for us this week. And we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Take care.